Barcelona new star, Chutian's legendary rise begins. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 1, August 2015. China League 2, the scene of the match between Sichuan football and New football. After all, it is the second division, and the scene of rookies pecking at each other is a bit boring. Many spectators in the stands yawned. The time came to the 60th minute unconsciously, and the score was still stuck at 0-0. Football was kicked out of bounds. The referee blew the whistle and signaled a substitution. The originally dull stadium suddenly sounded a crazy scream. Chutian! 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 Only to see a teenager wearing a Sichuan foot number 10 jersey with long black flowing hair trotting on the field. In the highest stands, a mean-looking middle-aged man narrowed his eyes. Is he Chutian? It's also very popular with fans. The young man in the suit next to him nodded. Leader, he is only 16 years old this year. He is already wearing the number 10 jersey of Sichuan football, and the position is midfielder. The middle-aged man is the leader of the Football Association. Because Chutian's performance in the Chinese second division is extremely outstanding, he specially came to examine his value. The accompanying young man in suits is the leader of Yanguo Jinyuan football and the manager of the Chinese Super League real estate team. Tournament resumed. After he played, Kawazu's formation changed from 4-3-2-1 to 4-3-3. During the game, Chutian kept looking back to observe the situation. Every pass he receives is incredibly easy. The style of the competition also gradually changed. Chuanzu seemed to have changed into a team, and the players, driven by Chutian, played in extremely smooth cooperation. On the other side, the new foot completely lost possession. The shouts of the fans in the homestands grew louder. The leader of the Football Association looked surprised. Yes, as soon as this Chutian came on the field, he revitalized the entire team. Fully eligible to enter the national youth team, the manager of the real estate team sneered. He is fully qualified to play in the Chinese Super League, and hopes that the leader will let him. The leader of the Football Association waved his hand and said arrogantly, "Rest assured, what I said, which player in Yanguo dares not listen?" On the pitch, the new footballers blocked the penalty area and began a fierce counterattack. In the chaos, the ball came to Chutian's feet. Only to see him receive the ball, he did not even look at it. He sent a foot from his back, and the ball was attached to the ground, like a firework that lifted off, passing through a gap and directly piercing the back line of Mei foot. On the left side of the goal, Sichuan foot striker Gua Xiaobao just took a step, and he was very comfortable to stop the ball. Chutian's pass is really comfortable. He was now facing the empty door directly. Tap a little. The ball rolled into the goal. 1-0. Chuanzu leads. Cheers from the audience. A fan excitedly tinkered with his mobile phone. Chutian's collection can be updated again. What a super genius of our Kawazu. You can pass the ball from that perspective. Time passes minute by minute. The game ended quickly. Chutian sent 2 exquisite assists in the whole game, and Sichuan football finally won 3-0 against Xinzhou. After shaking hands with the referee, Chutian applauded the fans and slowly walked to the players' passage. At the door of the locker room, the leader who had just stood in the stands walked to Chutian with the real estate team manager without any hesitation. The manager of the real estate team handed over a business card. "Hello, Chutian, we have been observing you for a long time. I am young manager of the real estate team. This is Li XX of the Football Association." The leader of the Football Association has an arrogant attitude and a commanding tone. "Young man, play well, have the potential to enter the national youth team. You should not stay in the second division. You transfer to the Chinese Super League real estate team." Chutian took the business card, glanced at it, did not respond, but looked at the 2 people in front of him indifferently. The leader of the Football Association frowned. Never before has a player from a hot country been so indifferent to him. The real estate team manager took out a contract from his purse and smiled. "We can sign it now." Chutian's face was expressionless, and he crossed the 2 of them and walked towards the player passage. He signed a temporary contract with Sichuan Football Club, and where to play football is completely up to him. Suddenly ran out of a Football Association leader. "Just want to decide where I go to stay?" The leader of the Football Association looked gloomy and arrogantly said, "If you do not join the real estate team, I will disqualify you from entering the national youth team." The manager of the real estate team laughed and said, "Leaders don't get excited, don't get excited." Chutian stopped, looked back at the 2 of them, and smiled coldly. Then he walked into the players' tunnel. Ding! A crisp electromechanical synthesizer sound begins. Soccer Superstar System mission triggered. Mission objective: pass the Barcelona trial. Quest reward: unlock the Harvey Pass module. Chutian had been crossing over to this era for half a year. Half a year ago, he suddenly woke up to the system during a varsity game. Soccer Superstar System binding 1%. 50. 99. Congratulations to the host for unlocking the Harvey God perspective. After a crisp electronic synthesizer sound, the chaotic situation on the pitch began to clear. All the players' positions are transformed into overlook messages. The positions of both the enemy and us were in his grasp in an instant. The passing line was also automatically outlined in Chutian's field of vision. Harvey's perspective is the perspective of God on the pitch. Next, Chutian completely controlled the rhythm of the game. In that game, he shined all over the field, all kinds of long passes, one person contributed 8 assists, leading the varsity team to an unprecedented victory. At this time, La Masia Barcelona building. Enrique took a sip of his coffee. Heat and sorrow pervaded his vicissitudes. Even since he took over as head coach, the team has continued to have a lot of success. But the dark illness of the team's aging midfield still worries him and lingers. Harvey is old. Barca have been slow to find a midfielder. Even MSN, which is invincible in the front court, does not help without this metronome in the midfield. Enrique sighed. With a swipe of the mouse, he clicked on a folder of videos sent back by Barca Asian scouts in June. The reason why he did not click until now in August is because he subconsciously does not think that Asian players can match the tone of Barcelona. China League 2? Do clubs raise scouts for nothing? What can be at that level? The video starts playing, and it's a match between Kawazu and Umezu. The camera goes to the Kawazu team. The teenager in the number 10 jersey, his head shaking constantly, observed the situation on the court. The ball rolled to his feet, he didn't stop the ball, just a long pass. I saw the ball roll on the ground after landing, slide out of a strange arc, pass to the goal of the penalty area, and appear at the feet of teammate strikers. Unfortunately, the teammate kicked an anti-aircraft gun. The teaching assistant exclaimed, "Oh God. It's harder not to score than to score." Enrique's eyes lit up. Can't wait to open the second video. The third video. The fourth video. After watching all the videos, Enrique had a dignified face. He's Barcelona's manager and he can see all the strengths and weaknesses of a player. Although the basic skills of this Yenhua teenager were like that, he had an incredible talent. Every pass he made was like a computer calculation, in the right place. And most of the passes are passed out without a perspective. What a horrible vision. He immediately sent the folder to Harvey. And added, "I have found a genius who is very similar to you." Episode 2. After winning the game, Chutian refused the invitation of his teammates to drink and returned directly to the residence in the club bus. Not unsociable. Even if the system is awakened. He also insists on being a self-disciplined player. Talent determines the upper limit. Self-discipline determines the lower limit. On the way back, he has been wondering, the system has been silent since it woke up half a year ago, why would a task pop up today? The mission required a trial of Barcelona. I am in Sichuan province, how can I have the opportunity to go to Barcelona, thousands of miles away? He knows his technical level, although he is a standout among the players of the Yenhua, but he is far inferior to the demon boys of the La Masia Academy. How could Barca possibly pay attention to him? DD. The phone rang suddenly. Chutian glanced at the prefix area code on the screen and thought, is it a scam call? He pressed the answer button anyway. The other party said with a lame Chinese, "Mr. Chutian, hello. I am Barca Club's Rocket. I learned about you through the video of the Chinese Second League. Your technical characteristics are very much in line with our requirements. I am now officially inviting you to participate in the trial on behalf of the club. We will reimburse you for your round-trip air ticket and all the expenses of the whole process." Chutian was a little confused. Soon after the system released the task, Barca invited themselves to try it out. He eased up and said, "Thank you Barca Club for the invitation, thank you Rose hello, I will leave immediately." Meanwhile, the homepage of the official website of the Yen National Football Association released the latest news. Decision on the punishment of Chutian, a player of Sichuan Football Club, for violating discipline, by division, by football club. In August 2015, in the 14th game of the Second Division League of the Yenhua Football Association, Chutian, a player of Sichuan Football Club, disobeyed the management and scheduling of the Football Association, and openly ignored the leadership of the Football Association after the game, which was serious and caused a very bad social impact. In accordance with Article 132 of the Guidelines for the Recording of the Yenhua Football Association, the following penalties are hereby imposed. 1. Chutian, a player of Sichuan Football Club, is banned from participating in all competitions of the Yenhua national team for life. 2. Banning Chutian, a player of Sichuan Football Club, from participating in all levels of Yenhua leagues for life. 3. A fine of 60,000 yuan was imposed on Yenhua. The development of Yenhua football has always advocated a fair and clean playing environment. Subsequently, the penalty was reproduced on various channels. An hour later, the news of Chutian was expelled from the national team and banned for life in China swept up to the first place in the hot search. Netizens are talking about it. Who is Chutian? Never heard of it. What does it mean to blatantly disregard the leadership of the FA? Lao Tzu still scolds the FA every day. Fair and clean environment. The last time Jean Laz was banned from playing 10 games, why was Chutian banned for life? Serious circumstances, causing a very bad social impact? I see that your FA has caused serious and bad effects. Chutian is our Chuanzu young general, not me blowing. You go to search for Chutian's collection. His passing, Yenghua first, half an hour later. The hope of Yenghua football. The video of the young General Chutian's passing collection sneaked up on the third place in the hot search. Dig a groove. This vision. This consciousness. This long pass. Cows. I dare say there are no players in Yenghua who are stronger than him. You found out that as soon as Chutian came on, the rhythm of Chuanzu changed. I just saw that Chutian is the first place in the assist list of the Chinese Second League. If it weren't for Sichuan football striker Guoxiaobao Taishui and wasting too many opportunities, Chutian would have been able to pull out the second place in the assist list. Xavi FA. Just don't do personnel. This good seedling is banned for life. A one-star hotel in Sichuan province. The leader of the Football Association took a look at the news comments on his mobile phone. His face was gloomy, and he disdainfully said, "This group of ignorant netizens." The real estate team manager sneered, "The leader, don't look at it. I have arranged the public relations. These negative comments will soon be covered. So be it." Some discordant voices appeared in the comments. With this kind of highlight, I can cut out a wonderful goal that is 10 minutes long for Gao Plain. I haven't heard of any demon stars in China B. You blow Chutian so strongly, why don't you directly kick the Chinese Super League? A few years ago, I blew Dong Mao Wang, and now I blow Chutian? Please, you ball blind, don't blow. A middle B player, a little self-aware, okay? Point face, you guys are handsome when you see Chutian, just blow hard. A person who does not obey the management and scheduling is not willing to contribute to the Yenghua football. We don't need such players. Who is Chutian? If it is really so powerful, I don't see him staying in the ocean. It's night. Chutian boarded a flight to Barcelona. Another piece of news sneaked up on the first place in the hot search. Barca club invites Yenghua Jr. to La Masia for a trial. The news came out. The whole country is shaking. There was an uproar. Fans raved online. The official website of the Football Association and the official accounts of various platforms were instantly washed away. Penn Football Association. Blind as a bat. Pencil leadership. I can't see the hot country football is good, right? Blind dispatch, blind management. Disregard for leadership. I ignored that leader 10,000 times. Episode 3, 30 hours later. Matador Nation. Barcelona Airport. Chutian had just walked out of the pickup port. Rosie led 2 club staff in suits and shoes to greet him warmly. Welcome, Chutian. 200 pounds of Luo Xiao opened his arms. Chutian dragged his suitcase and instinctively took 2 steps back, looking confused. The people of the Matador Nation are enthusiastic, and the old-fashioned Chariot Nation are 2 extremes. The 2 staff members actively and politely took Chutian's suitcase and put on a coat for him. They didn't dare to be a little sloppy. Because this black-haired teenager from the Yen country is a trial player handpicked by the club manager. Subsequently, Chutian walked out of the airport surrounded by 3 people and got into a commercial vehicle with the Barca team logo printed on it. The new La Liga season is about to begin. Barca prepared early before Xavi retired. They bought Rakitic from Europa League winning side Sevilla. Until June, after Xavi retired. Enrique included Rakitic in the main squad in the following matches. But the midfielder, who has been selected for the best European team, seems to be unsatisfactory in Barca. The Habib's midfield combination is like a machine, and without Xavi, the machine stops transiting. The team's offensive and defensive operations began to be blocked. Rakitic is clearly not up to the mark of Xavi. He's running, he's defensively excellent, and he also has a long-range shot. But it can't drive Barca's offensive and defensive rhythm. Compared to midfield commander, he was more like a hard-working sapper who worked hard and did dirty work. The teammates were uncomfortable with the days without Xavi. The nth day Xavi is gone, think of him. But looking at the European arena, Barca can't find a more suitable midfielder than Rakitic at the moment. Barca youth team training ground. On the pitch, the game was very smooth, and the young players shouted loudly at their teammates, cheering from time to time, sighing from time to time. In the open stands across the iron mesh, some spectators fed the birds and basked in the sun. Harvey wore sunglasses, his sweatshirt hat covered his hair, and from time to time he looked at the entrance to the training ground, as if expecting something. On the sidelines, the new head coach, Gerard, looked at the tactical board and seemed to be thinking about something. Last season, Team B was relegated to Group B of La Liga, and his successor was a bit under pressure. The young players on the pitch are all from the La Masia Academy, and the basic skills are particularly solid. Needless to say, the technical aspect is produced by La Masia, which must be a fine product. But the average age of the lads is only 16.8 years old, and it is a great loss to face the 20 to 30-year-old football veterans in the second division. Hey, Gerard, what are you thinking? Luo Shou laughed and led Chutian, who had changed his jersey, into the training ground. Rush. You fat man. Today again. Gerard lifted his head, put away the tactical board, and bowed his head slightly at Chutian. Young man of Yenghua, welcome to Barcelona. Gerard's tone seemed enthusiastic. This is a trial player, handpicked by coach Enrique. Enrique didn't look at people when he didn't look away. It coincided with the La Liga off-season, the Barca first team did not return to the team, and Chutian was arranged to the youth team for trial training. The arrival of Chutian attracted the attention of many people. A couple of mischievous young players slowed down slightly and sneaked up on the sidelines. Asians who came to try? Is it a Uyghur or a stickman? In the stands, Harvey took off his sunglasses and adjusted his sitting position, his eyes full of anticipation. The technical assistant coach of the youth team also stepped forward, looked at Chutian, and frowned slightly. The teaching assistant had also seen Chutian's video. He believes that the technology of this Yenghua teenager can only be said to be the level of Yenghua international footballers. Aren't the internationals who play in Europe all water dispenser mascots? For example, Jean Laz, who transferred to Wolf Castle the year before, was specially arranged by a certain car brand for the Yenghua market. We at Barca are not short of money now, and there has never been a precedent in the history of the club for a co-brand to arrange for a player to transfer to Barca. He leaned into Gerard's ear and whispered, Coach, I think he may not get the ball. Gerard waved his hand, interrupted him, turned to Chutian and said gently, You play in midfield, right? Chutian nodded. Gerard was expressionless and looked at the teaching assistant. The assistant coach looked embarrassed, blew a whistle against the pitch, and shouted, Tell, you come down and let the Yenghua boys go up. The young players looked sideways. Yenghua people? It's the first time I've seen a Yenghua man in a jersey at Barca. The Yenghua people look much more pleasing to the eye than the Uyghurs and Goryeo people. The teenager named Terai ran over, grinned, and handed the red vest to Chutian. Chutian also smiled slightly, put on his vest, and excitedly stepped onto the court. Be sure to pass the Barca trial. Reward for missions. Harvey's passing module. The breeze blew up long black hair. The white mist of the Apennines moistened the yellow cheeks. The crowd found that his eyes were full of confidence. Episode 4, Chutian's team is Team A. A small bald head, also wearing a red vest, ran to him and confidently said, Hey, Yenghua boy, I'm the captain and forward Palatek, I tell you how to play. Our formation is 4-3-3, the short pass penetration is dominant, forget it, there is no way to play, you just have to pass the ball to me. I'm strong, Chutian smiled and nodded. With a whistle from the teaching assistant. The trial match has officially begun. Kickoff in the middle circle. The football began to move back and forth rapidly on the field. The lads who can enter the La Masia Academy are extremely talented and skilled. All the youth teams in the world don't like slow paces, and most of the results of the game will be like scoring goals. The rhythm of this trial match is the same. Chutian's vision and consciousness can keep up with the rhythm, and Harvey's God perspective makes the entire stadium stand and the direction of the football in his hands. He was always in the most appropriate position to catch the ball. However, the technical level cultivated by Yenghua was also exposed. Teammates pass with extreme strength and speed. Whenever Chutian received the ball and stopped the ball, it would always be very awkward, and there would be one mistake after another. Either the ball was stopped 2 meters away, or the heel could not be stopped, causing the ball to go out of bounds. He has been accustomed to the soft passing of the Yen National League over the years. Unable to adapt for a while. The ball came to the feet again. This time, Chutian finally stopped the ball steadily. 2 enemy players rushed up and blocked his passing line. Chu Tianxiao's consciousness wanted to get rid of it. But the heels don't make it to the brain. The other person gently lifted his foot. Just grab the football easily. The little bald-headed Palarik shook his head helplessly, the Yenghua boy's possession was also too poor. Many young men in the A team are also muttering in their hearts, although his consciousness and running position are very good, this technical level is inferior. The level of possession and stopping the ball is not a world at all with us. Courtside. The technical assistant coach chattered at Herard and his mouth was splashed. Coach, I just said that the basic skills of the Yenhua boys are not up to the standards of our club. Herard frowned and yelled, shut up. The game started for only 4 minutes, and if you were to quack like a duck again, I would consider changing the club to a technical coach. The technical teaching assistant was immediately silenced. Stands. Harvey held his chin, a satisfied smile appeared on his face, and his heart secretly appreciated, the consciousness and running position of this young man of Yenhua are really amazing. He's playing football with his brain. Constantly looking back to observe the situation, the action is exactly the same as my own. Although his skills are poor, he is only 16 years old and can be improved by training the day after tomorrow. Then I couldn't help but laugh at myself. When I was a child, the technology in the La Masia Academy was not the highest. Harvey, the legendary midfield master, plays not by the body, but by the head. From an early age, he was thin, short in stature, and showed no talent in technology, so that he was rejected by countless clubs, and it was not until the age of 11 that he had the opportunity to try out Galamasia. 11 years old, according to the training of professional players, is an overage child. But even so, he became a legendary midfielder who can go down in the history of football. On the pitch, the lads of the A team gradually ignored Chutian and were not willing to pass the ball to him at all. Even Team B didn't bother to arrange personnel to defend Chutian. Anyway, this young man of Yenhua could not pose a threat. Even if it's a trial game, the lads want to win. Chutian's expression was calm, still carefully observing the situation of the scene, and actively running back and forth. The little bald-headed Palatek didn't brag, his interspersing and speed was excellent, repeatedly posing a threat to the opposite side. But the football always couldn't get past the B team's defensive line and couldn't land at his feet. The score came to the 6th minute unconsciously. Team B held the ball forward and was quickly forced by 3 people from Team A. The scene was chaotic for a while. Football flew out of the backcourt. Came to the feet of Chutian. Chutian carried his back on his back, did not stop, and actually directly turned sideways and passed a long pass. Football draws a wonderful arc. Like a meteor, it directly penetrated the entire defense line, pressed forward by Team B. The little bald-headed Palatek had already sniffed the opportunity on the flanks and started directly. Run fast. No offside. The ball landed a meter in front of him. The ball was passed, fantastic. Single knife opportunity. Team B goalkeepers waited. The small bald head is directly pushed with 1 foot. Football is in the net. 1:0. The deadlock of the game was broken. The audience was shocked. Chutian's foot pass is really cool. The little bald head hugged Chutian excitedly, and his teammates cheered and celebrated. Courtside. The technical instructor looked embarrassed and murmured, the timing of Yenhua boy's long pass with 1 foot on his back is too perfect. Herard couldn't help but be shocked. How did he achieve a long pass directly on his back? Not to mention that standing in that passing position, he could find such a perfect passing line. Stands. Snap. Harvey couldn't help but stand up and applaud, great. The Yenhua boy observed the running position of the left winger before turning around, and prejudged and passed the ball directly. Tournament resumed. The lads of the A team began to frequently hand over the ball to the Chutian organization. The lads of La Masia are not racist, they want to win, they respect the strong. They controlled the speed and strength of the ball and tried to make Chutian feel comfortable to receive the ball. Chutian gradually adapted to the playing style of the youth team. With the help of God's perspective, everything on the pitch was clearly in his mind. The offensive and defensive rhythm of Team A was gradually driven by Chutian. Every pass he made, it's always going to get the football to where it should be. Ultimately, the 20-minute trial match ends. Team A won 4 o'clock. Stands. Harvey put on his sunglasses and prepared to make a trip to La Masia's office building. Chutian, this young man of Yenhua, Barca must stay. Episode 5, the trial is over. The lads of the youth team bid a warm farewell to Chutian. The technical assistant also smiled at him. Gerard could not hide his admiration for Chutian in his eyes and handed a report to Luo Xiao. Rosie, you big fat man, you must receive us Barca's future rising stars well. Rad, you can't question my professionalism. In the eyes of the crowd, Luo Xiao smiled and led Chutian out of the youth team training ground. The two boarded a commercial van and headed to the La Masia Youth Academy. On the road, Luo Xiao flipped through the trial report and murmured, Chutian, I dare to pack tickets. Although the old guys of the club will pick and choose and let you go through a series of cumbersome procedures, they will definitely sign you in the end. Chutian smiled, it doesn't matter, go according to the procedure. 15 minutes later. The van stopped in front of the building in La Masia. Luo Xiao whispered, the old guys will interview you, ask you some messy questions, and be mentally prepared. Chutian nodded. As soon as the two entered the gate, more than a dozen staff members warmly greeted them. Rostu wondered, what's going on? This is the treatment of Barca's reception of senior leaders. A staff member laughed and said, Luo Xiao, don't go through the procedure, just take Mr. Chutian to the chairman's office to sign the contract. Luo Xiao stood up with excitement, God, those old-fashioned old guys don't even bother our Yenhua junior generals. The signing process went smoothly. Even the club president shook hands with him for a group photo. This is a treatment that only official players can transfer to join. After the signing is completed, Chutian returned to the accommodation arranged by Barca. Ding, congratulations to the host, successfully passed the Barca trial, soccer superstar system mission completed, mission rewards are being issued. Distribution is complete, congratulations to the host for obtaining Harvey Pass module. Chutian instantly felt a slight numbness in the back of his head. Countless messages poured into the cerebellum. Moments later, he calmed down, picked up a piece of paper and kneaded it into a ball, and gently discarded it. 1 foot tap. The paper balls fell precisely into the small vase of the table, 10 meters away. Is this the Harvey passing module? The mechanical electronic synthesizer sounded again. Host attribute value is being opened. Offense 68, possession 70, passes 93. Shot 69, headers 64, set pieces 68. Arc ball 66, speed 75, foot 474. Jump 62, body contact 74, stamina 78. Defensive 58, steals 65, goal 20. Overall rating 71, age 16. Chutian looked at the attribute panel. After the body was integrated into the Harvey passing module, his passing value was as high as 93. What a concept! In the football game of the past life, Pirlo's pass value was only 92. 93-point pass value, the world's first. It's just that other properties are too low. It seemed to sense Chutian's thoughts. The sound of the system sounded again. Open attribute point acquisition method. Every 10 hours of training, the host will get a freely assignable attribute point. Chutian wondered in his heart, then if I train for 10 hours a day and persevere, won't it take a year or two to fill up all the attribute points? Attributes have a restriction mechanism. When a single attribute reaches more than 80 points, it takes 30 hours of training to get the number of points that can be increased for that attribute. I see. Chutian realized that he still had to consider how to allocate attribute points according to his actual situation. He is a midfielder, and he can't always run to add a goalkeeping attribute because other attributes reach 80. He doesn't want to be a cameo goalkeeper. The mechanical electronic synthesis continued to sound. Draw mode has been turned on. After the host wins each game, it can get the corresponding number of points according to the game level, and 10 points can be drawn once. For the first time, give the host a free lottery opportunity. Yenhua. The news of Chutian's expulsion spread widely on the internet. Fans angrily cursed the FA, hitting the FA's official accounts on various platforms. The FA was quick to respond. Football is a team sport that requires players to obey management. The official website of the Football Association has released another news. Yenhua football does not need a cancer player like Chutian, and under the PR of the real estate team. The news quickly became a hot search. Under the power of money, the overwhelming water army swept in, gradually covering the angry voices of the fans. What about trying out at Barcelona? Isn't trial training the most normal thing in a matador country? Chutian spent a lot of money, right? Do you really think Chutian can pass Barca's trial? No kidding. The smear remarks of the water army against Chutian caused many passers-by fans who supported Chutian to begin to waver. A star hotel. The real estate team manager sneered, Leader, everything is in my hands, these stupid netizens, excitement for 2 or 3 days will stop. The FA manager said arrogantly, just a little player with a little talent, thinking that he can use the news of Barca's trial training to fight with me, ahem. I'm going to ban him to death. The manager of the real estate team quickly echoed what the leader said, backbite. A news message notification popped up on the phone. The real estate team manager has an obsessive-compulsive disorder. It is uncomfortable not to slip off the mobile phone notification. He picked up his phone and was about to leave the message notification. The next second, his expression froze. Snap. The phone was not secured and fell to the ground. Began to slurred, caller. Guide. The FA leader frowned, what's wrong with you? Then I glanced at the phone screen. I opened my mouth wide in surprise. Barca official website announced, Yenghua young player Chutian officially joined. This news sensationalized this hot country. The whole country is boiling. The FA's Weibo was directly blown up. Funny. You say Chutian is a cancer. This face is crackling, haha, Xavi FA. Blind as a bat. Chutian officially joined Barca, what about trolls? The FA has no money to invite the water army. I'm a troll, I was wrong. Chutian. I'm sorry, Xavi FA. Yenghua football is delayed by your rice buckets, Xavi FA. Disregard for leadership? Disobeying the schedule? Can you dispatch Chutian to Barcelona? Chutian. Don't go back to your home country and play football. Returning home is ruined. Everything that happened in Yenghua. Chutian, who was in Barcelona at this time, did not know. Maybe even if you know, you won't pay attention. Free draw? He meditated in his mind. Lottery. Start the draw. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Batistuta Heavy Artillery Shot Fragment 1. Gather 5 pieces to craft a module. Batistuta? Chutian was greatly shocked. The legendary center star's famous stunt is heavy artillery shooting. His shot is unparalleled in the world. It can be described in 3 words. Unstoppable. Pull it out. The aesthetics of violence. Episode 6. The next morning. Chutian came to the training ground. The red and blue Barca shirt was worn on him, which looked particularly heroic. Because La Liga had not yet started, the club arranged for him to train with the youth team and participate in the competition during this time. The players greeted him warmly. Yenghua boy's wonderful performance yesterday recognized him. Palatak waved his hand. Chutian, come to us. The lads spread out, in a big circle, doing the training of passing the ball in the air. Chutian, we have to play a game with Sevilla U18 in the afternoon, so today's training session did not have a high-intensity project. The football flew in front of Chutian. Only to see Chutian gently lift his foot, the football drew an arc, and landed precisely in front of Palatki, 20 meters away. The little bald head comfortably stopped the ball. Strange, how do I think your passing has become stronger, is it not Monty? Haha, he turned and stepped back, pulling the distance between the 2 to 40 meters, and then kicked the football back to Chutian. Of course, his pass was very different from Chutian's accuracy. After the football flew 30 meters, it landed and rolled. Chutian trotted a dozen steps and kicked at the bottom of the soccer ball. Only to see the football jump up high, and it landed accurately in front of Palatak 40 meters away. How did you do it? These 2-foot passes are so powerful. Much better than yesterday. The little bald head gave a thumbs up in surprise. Other players also applauded. The technical assistant whistled and shouted, lads, change into a vest and now do 15 minutes of group practice. Watch out not to hurt, we're going to over the little soft eggs in Seville in the afternoon. Group confrontation exercises in groups of 5 begin. Chutian began to touch the ball with ease. Although the ball is stopped, the possession of the ball is still very awkward. But he spent most of his time touching the ball with one foot. God's perspective allows him to sort out the positions of 22 players in the official game, not to mention the practice match in groups of 5. His pass is far better than yesterday's. It's all a sleek 1-foot pass. Easily tear apart the opponent's defenses. 15 minutes to the end. Chutian's group won 5 o'clock. On the sidelines, head coach Hurd looked at Chutian's eyes with great appreciation and couldn't help but marvel in his heart. Was the little guy in Yenghua deliberately hiding yesterday? Overnight, the pass became so precise. Whether it is vision, consciousness, running position, and long pass, Chutian's characteristics are particularly distinct and extremely beautiful. His style of play is exactly the same as Xavi's. 2:55 p.m. Barca youth team hosts Sevilla Youth. The stands were filled with enthusiastic fans. Because the La Liga offseason is too long. So the Barca youth team match, the stands are also full. The referee took the lead in walking out of the aisle. Followed by players from both sides also stepped onto the pitch. The fans in the stands began to cheer. A black-haired, flowing teenager in a Barca number 4 shirt caught everyone's attention. Fans are puzzled. What's going on? Why is there an Asian? He's wearing the number 4 shirt. Can an Asian be the midfield core of Barca's youth team? La Masia has never had an Asian. Look at his weak little body. As soon as the wind blows, it will fall. Hurd. You're going to give us an explanation. The youth team was relegated last season. Is it time to give up on the effort? Let an Asian play in a number 4 jersey? On the pitch. The race is about to begin. Players on both sides stand in 2 rows. The referee tossed a coin and pointed in the direction of the goals of both teams. Chutian looked up at the fans who were pointing at him. He could understand the matador language, but he couldn't understand the bullfighter's speech. The small bald head patted his shoulder, with a serious expression. Chutian, try to pass the ball to me as much as possible. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my bald head will reflect. Easy to find, Chu Tianguan smiled. The minute hand points to 12 o'clock. 3 o'clock hole. The referee blew the whistle for the start of the game. Barca youth team took the lead in kicking off. Palaker in the middle circle with a knockback. The football came to Chutian's feet. Players from both sides began to run. An instant. All the information on the pitch was integrated into Chutian's mind. The perfect passing line was automatically sketched out in his mind. He turned the ball sideways and defused the oncoming Sevilla players. After 2 passes between teammates, the football was back at Chutian's feet. He didn't make a stop, a short pass. This moment, Chutian began the transmission performance. The rhythm of the entire Barca youth team was driven by him. It's like a tight instrument, methodically eroding Sevilla's defensive line. Whether it is a short pass, a long pass, a horizontal pass, a direct pass, a return pass, Chutian is a touch of the ball. The lads played very pleasantly at his rhythm. The opening 8 minutes. The Barca youth team is in full control of the game. Sevilla's possession is 0%. On the sidelines, Sevilla's head coach roared angrily. What the hell are you kicking? The ball can't be touched. Episode 7, marvel at the audience. This Asian guy in the number 4 jersey plays in the same style as Harvey. Keep watching the situation turn around. Precise delivery. Smart running position. Also wearing the number 4 shirt. The fans in the stands did not dare to point at Chutian again. Instead, it was discussed. What's this little guy's name? Was it from the La Masia Academy? Absolutely not. I remember, didn't you read the official website yesterday? I recognize it too. News on the homepage of the official website. He is the official first-team player who is signed to join, a young general from Yenhua. Chutian, all of a sudden. There was no more questioning or insulting. The score came to the 9th minute. Sevilla, who completely lost possession, were pushed back by Barca's youth team. The Sevilla coach desperately gestured at the pitch, shrinking defense. Seize the opportunity to fight against the reaction. For Sevilla, it was clearly a good idea that was not a good solution. Sevilla's players immediately dispersed at the edge of the penalty area. Pity. All dynamic defenses, in Chutian's field of vision, have loopholes. A diagonal pass at the back. The ball just came out. Chutian observed the loophole in the other party's position. The most perfect passing line is automatically sketched in my mind. The ball came to his feet. He just stuck it straight in. The football was like a sharp knife that pierced the entire back line of Sevilla. Palak's bald head, in the 3 o'clock afternoon sun, is very dazzling. He had already grasped it and started to start. The opposing defender watched the pass in disbelief. The moving lines of the football are very comfortable. The opposing goalkeeper, football is in the position where it should be. Palak faces the empty door directly. The little bald head did not live up to the opportunity created by Chutian. Gently pat a foot. Football in the net. 1:0. Barca youth team leads. The audience cheered and erupted into thunderous applause. The bench and staff on the sidelines, head coach Gerard, were all shaking their fists in excitement. The technical assistant coach was also excited. Coach, I was wrong. Chutian is amazing. The fans in the stands also shouted enthusiastically. Yenhua boy is so cool. I saw hope for a Barca youth team upgrade in him. Hey, don't think about it, Chutian is going to play in the first team. On the pitch, the lads of the Barca youth team gathered around Chutian and celebrated wildly. The goal hero, the little bald head Palatak, ran to him, opened his hands, and shouted, Chutian, you are God's gift to me. I haven't scored in an official match in more than half a year, Mua. The egg-like head pouted and leaned forward. Chutian was so frightened that he took a few steps back. The teammates laughed and pushed Palataker's bald head away. Chutian at this moment. An unprecedented sense of satisfaction welled up in my heart. Such a full football atmosphere is what he needs. Stands. A college student with an oriental face tinkers with his phone. He had just filmed the picture of Chutian's assist. Including the clips passed by Chutian's 1-foot touch ball control field in the previous few minutes, They were also edited together and shared on a popular short video platform in Yenghua. He set the title to, "I met my fellow Yen countrymen in La Masia." Then I thought about it and felt that it was not eye-catching enough. I changed the title to, "Barca Rising Star." Yenghua Jr. will shine on La Masia. The Yenghua international student has been in the Matador country for 2 years and often goes to Barca's home stadium to watch matches. His family is very rich, and the tickets bought for each game are VIP seats. I also like to edit the video of Barca's wonderful goal and share it on the short video website. Therefore, it has accumulated a lot of fans in Yenghua. The international student pondered for a moment and said to himself, "This is a compatriot of Yenghua, I fucking buy a traffic push package to promote it." Followed by, "This video is like a bomb." Instantly detonated the online media of Yenghua. There was an uproar. The number of likes, comments, and retweets of the video has skyrocketed wildly. Awesome. Chutian is playing in the youth team in La Masia. The timing of this straight pass is just right. Good horror, the real Barca youth team is playing around Chutian. He controls the rhythm of the whole game alone. On the vision and passing, I thought that no one in the Yenghua International could match Chutian, and now I am wrong. La Masia's youth team is not as good as Chutian. Brothers, I can't squirt. Chutian really can't go black. It's a pity that I can't see the live broadcast of the Barca youth team in Yenghua. Forget it, scold the FA. The other side. The official account of the Football Association has been washed away by angry fans and netizens. Xavi FA, look at the good things you've done. What you call the cancer is now playing the main midfielder in La Masia. That FA leader, please get out. The FA is a joke. Get a high salary. Don't do personnel. A bunch of sacks of rice. Put La Masia's main players banned for life. Big joke. Episode 8. Back on the field of La Masia. The Sevilla youth lads returned to the middle circle of the pitch in frustration. After falling behind by 1 goal, they no longer have the tactic of shrinking and defending. They are all behind. Is it still useful to stick to the forbidden area? Cheer up. Let's fight against each other. Attack out. In youth teams, it is normal to be 1 goal behind. Lads, equalize me. Go overtake again. Sevilla's head coach clenched his fists. Shout out loud. The referee blew the whistle to restart the ball. The ball was fired in the middle circle. The game continues. The Sevilla youth team changed its steady style of play and began to hold the ball on a large scale. Unfortunately, they quickly lost the ball under the pressure of Barca youth. The football came to Chutian's feet. He looked calm and smiling. Fighting? The crazy forward Sevilla defense was extremely fragile in his eyes. It's a youth team game, there's no difficulty at all. Chutian began to take over the game and the pace of the Barca youth team began to speed up. Speed. It's not just about running speed. And the speed at which the football runs. These lads from the La Masia Academy are extremely talented and skilled. Since childhood, it has been practiced as a transmission control. They work seamlessly with Chutian's style. The passing of the entire Barca youth team was all a 1-foot touch. Football is like a mischievous elf, shuttling between red and blue jerseys, repeatedly tearing apart the enemy's defenses and causing killing. The frustrated Sevilla youth players had to run back and forth, and there was no chance to grab the ball. The game came to the 12th minute. Chutian passed consecutively with another forward, Terra, the grinning lad who handed him his best during the trial yesterday. Laughing boys, luck won't be too bad. Chutian and Tel's tacit understanding is good. They passed back and forth, controlled the ball in a row, went straight 2/3, and passed 3 of Sevilla's defenders. Chutian took the ball to the right side of the penalty area. Arrows on the string. Enemy goalkeepers don't dare to take the plunge. Nervously arching his body and opening his hands, his first reaction was, Chutian wants to shoot. Only to see Chutian's head did not look up. Direct heel bump. The goalkeeper was stunned and couldn't react at all. The ball rolls to the left side of the penalty area. A very dangerous location. The small bald head magically appeared in the field of vision of everyone. He walked like a loach through the defenders and plugged in from the left. Shovel a kick back. Fortunately, his feet are long enough. Football flies into the net. 2-0. Barca youth team once again leads. Wow. The fans in the stands were thrilled. They chanted the same name in unison. Chutian. 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 The sound was like a tidal wave, drowning out the entire La Masia stadium. Trey grinned and pushed Chutian to the ground. The Barca youth players rushed up excitedly and pressed on Chutian's back, frantically rubbing his black hair. stacked high R hits. Chutian smiled helplessly. I thought you were an honest person. Palataker, who was running from the other side of the court, cried out, wait for me. Wait for me. I haven't pressed it yet. Courtside. The rest area of Sevilla was dead silent, and the head coach had a black face. When encountering such a demon as Chutian, there was really no way at all. The rest area on the Barcelona side stands in stark contrast. Amid the cheers, Rad smiled. Manager Enrique really dug up a treasure for Barca. The game continues. Many players in the Sevilla youth team have lost their morale. How can I play? Defensive counterattacks are useless. High front pressure is useless. Short pass infiltration? The ball can't touch how to penetrate. The head coach of Sevilla returned to his seat in the lounge area, his hands crossed on his chest, a look of frustration. Time passes minute by minute. The game was completely under the control of the Barca youth team. Strictly speaking, it was under Chutian's control. Chutian sent out a series of accurate threatening passes. Created opportunities again and again. Unfortunately, the small bald head exposed the real strength. Either the empty door did not enter, or the single knife was passed to the opposite goalkeeper, and a foot beam. The Barca youth players had relaxed expressions. During the time of the dead ball, many players comforted the little bald head and said with concern, Palatak, you fool, Chutian has created so many good opportunities for you, my grandmother can kick in. The game came to the 35th minute. Chutian on the left once again saw through the hole in the opponent's backline and directly pumped a foot to the bottom of the football. The ball spins at high speed. Directly across a half. The audience was stunned. This long distance is also too far. Barca youth team right winger Dongu is a non-talkative urbane teenager. His presence in the team is low, and in this game, the presence is low. Sevilla didn't even have someone to keep an eye on him. Dongu's opposite Sevilla defender in assisting Paratak. The ball landed just 2 meters in front of him. This is an opportunity. Dongu takes a few steps, stops the football steadily, and then starts at high speed and enters the penalty area. Face the goalkeeper directly. Faced with this single knife opportunity, he looked up. 1 foot sideways. The little bald-headed Palatek had long since gotten rid of the defense, did not stop the ball, and directly shot with 1 foot. The football picked up the grass clippings and flew straight into the net. 3:0. Cheers from the audience. Barca youth team killed the game. The Sevilla goalkeeper shook his head helplessly and crouched on the ground. Chutian beckoned his teammates and rushed to Dongu. Another Arhut was stacked. Dongu, a lonely teenager who did not like to talk, felt the warmth of the team at this moment, and looked into Chutian's eyes, full of gratitude. Just 1 day after coming to the team, Chutian had vaguely become the existence of the leader of the youth team. The next game. It is a one-sided situation. The terrifying La Masia youth army overwhelmed Sevilla. Chutian became more and more accustomed to the style of the Matador League. He led the youth army to smoothly change the rhythm of attack and defense. It's the perfect brain for this team. There were a couple of Sevilla players who were really angry and towards the end of the first half and they didn't even touch a single football. When the Barca youth team got an out-of-bounds ball opportunity, a Sevilla player inexplicably rushed to Chutian, roared angrily, and stretched out his hand to try to push. Chutian smiled faintly and turned sideways to avoid. The fans in the stands were furious and vented their dissatisfaction. Patrick and Dongu immediately ran up angrily and pushed the player a few times. What do you want to do to our baby? I warn you. Don't move our Chutian. Players from both sides flocked forward. The referee immediately blew the whistle. Open hands to stop both players. The midfield is over. In order to protect Chutian, Hurd replaced him. Second. The Sevilla youth team, which has lost its fighting spirit, is like a scattered sand, and it cannot be defeated. Eventually, the referee blew the end of the game. Barca Youth 5 o'clock, Sevilla Youth Army. Countless camera lenses were aimed at Chutian. The reporters in La Masia scrambled to crowd each other in an attempt to gain Chutian's first-hand interview rights. Their keen sense of professional smell made them realize that Chutian was Harvey's most perfect successor. Barcelona's new Harvey has been born. Episode 9. With his fat body, Lucio squeezed away more than a dozen excited reporters. Carrying the big fat hand, he escorted Chutian into the player passage. Ding, the game is over. Congratulations to the host for winning the match points +3. Warm repeat tip, 10 points of the game can open the lottery wheel. The voice of the system suddenly sounded in the head. Chutian was stunned, because he was too involved in the game. He remembered that there was still a reward for the game points. Half an hour later, Chutian returned to his residence in Barcelona. He put down his backpack and wondered, according to the league-level bonus points, the level of competition in the La Liga is not very low, why only add 3 points? Seemed to sense his thoughts. The sound of the system rings again. Ding, the match point reward is related to the level of the game. The Western B League belongs to the Matador National Secondary League, and it is normal to get match points +3 after victory. What if it's La Liga? How much to add? After winning La Liga, the host will have +5 match points. Chutian unscrewed a bottle of mineral water and began to think. 10 match points can be exchanged for a lottery opportunity. When can you have Batistuta's heavy artillery shot? Each draw prize is random. This probability should not be the lottery pit of the mobile game in the past life. He didn't want to be holding a bunch of fragments of legendary stars at that time, but he couldn't synthesize a star module. Comfortingly, the system did not open the draw on the training value. You only need to train for 10 hours to get a freely assigned attribute. Very stable. What if the attributes are also randomly assigned, all added to the goalkeeper? The new Xavi became the new Cassie? New Buffon? The next morning, John pulled out the new newspaper from the mailbox at the door. He is a diehard Barca. So was his dad. So was his grandfather. John was in no hurry to open the newspaper. He liked to be at the table, drinking milk and eating sandwiches, while reading the La Masia sports newspaper. As for Marca, daily sports, world sports, sports newspapers with zero credibility. It's toilet paper for him. Never look. John took a sip of hot milk. Multiply. I opened the newspaper comfortably. Just see the newspaper headlines are very eye-catching. God bless Barca, the new Xavi? Young Yengue Jr., a handsome boy with black hair, occupies half of the page. John leaned back excitedly. Knocked over the cup. Piping hot milk spilled over the crotch. John was unaware. He stared dead at the newspaper, confirming that he was not dreaming. Asian teenager in the newspaper, wearing Barca's number 4 shirt. Oh God. It's the number 4 jersey. It's Xavi's jersey. He squeezed the newspaper excitedly. Read the details of this report carefully. Moments later, he put down the newspaper and lost interest in the rest of the news. As a family of 3 generations of Barcelona fans, John keeps a close eye on the latest developments in Barcelona. After Xavi retired, he couldn't help but get worried. Frontcourt trident, MSN is invincible, but without the rhythm support of the midfield, it is also powerless. Small wide injuries are frequent. As Professor Bu grew older, his running ability also decreased significantly. The new signing, Rakitic, is brilliant, but he is only a sapper and cannot pick up the burden of a midfield commander. As for the substitutes Gomez and Danny Jr., forget it, a parallel goods king, an older young man who has been looking forward to it for several years, but has not been able to grow up. But now, Chutian appeared. Let these Barca diehard fans see hope. God, Chutian must be your gift to Barca. He is only 16 years old and has a limitless future. But in a few seasons, he will be able to grow up and shoulder the heavy responsibility of Barca's midfield rhythm. John talked to himself for a while and turned on the TV, and the Barca Sports channel happened to be replaying the Barca youth team's match against the Sevilla youth team. Go to your beautiful country, boss. I'm going to watch TV today. I'm going to watch Chutian. Let the evil capitalists go to hell. Big deal to change jobs. In Barcelona, early white-collar workers like John are in the minority. Because he works for a US business. 90% of the people of the Matador Nation don't get up until 11 o'clock in the morning. Fan families like John. There are thousands of families in this beautiful city of Barcelona. It has one of the best football scenes in Europe. The hour is towards noon. The fans got up. Countless families have a copy of the La Masia sports newspaper on their tables. Moments later, they opened their windows and shouted at their neighbors, God, this Asian teenager is the future of Barca. He took Xavi's legacy. New Xavi? His name is Chutian. He is still very young, and maybe one day he will become a more legendary midfield master. A teenager from the East will eventually save the dying Barca. There is no fault in the glory of Dream Sambasa, and it will be continued by him. Under the leadership of the Yengue youth, the cosmic team will definitely return to the top of Europe. Episode 10, It's Dark. 5 o'clock in the morning. Chutian then came to La Masia's training ground. Just train for 10 hours to get a freely assigned attribute point. There were only 24 hours a day, 8 hours of sleep, and 5 hours of training for the team, leaving Chutian with little time to train alone. This is still under the premise that the physical trainer does not interfere with himself. La Masia's physical trainer, Diaz, is a materialist believer in scientific Allah. All high-intensity training will be considered unscientific. Chutian secretly thought, we must seize the time to train. His physical strength is 78, no less than the same age European players, and it is absolutely exhausting to carry out continuous intensity training. Start with waist and abdomen strength training. He stood on the turf, feet as wide as his shoulders. Jump up and down hard. Collect your belly when you land. The benefit of this training is not to enhance the ability to jump, but to improve the strength of the lumbar and abdominal muscle groups. Practice your waist. All difficulty moves will be made simpler. In difficult pressing environments, the ball can be passed. In this way, Chutian began to train over and over again. From strength training to explosive training to speed training. Even if the attribute point can improve the ability project, he must not slacken off. The head coach of the youth team, Gerard, is not a Matador national. He was a chariot countryman and was used to getting up early. Similarly, he has the sorrow of the chariot countryman. The new head coach, plagued by the team's record, sleeps day and night. Chutian's arrival diluted his worries. But at the beginning of the La Liga season, the youngster will return to the first team. Gerard took a newspaper and walked toward the office building. As he passed the training ground, he saw a figure running unremittingly through the white fog. The figure was doing back and forth short distances to accelerate running. It's Chutian. He's doing explosive training. Gerard glanced down at his watch and confirmed that the time was now 6 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't help but secretly praise. Talent determines the upper limit, diligence determines the lower limit. Chutian is really a good young man, although his speed and explosive power are poor, but he is working hard. The next second, Gerard seemed to understand something, and laughed to himself. Just work in the right direction. Gerard, what are you always worried about? The cloud of sorrow in my heart also gradually dissolved. A head coach should lead the team in the right direction. Even if the record is not good, it will be ashamed when you leave office. Worry cannot solve any problems with the team, but will bring negative energy to the staff and players. Thank you, Chutian. After thinking through, the sleep-deprived head coach was a bit sleepy and wanted to go home and get a good night's sleep. He yawned and smiled as he walked toward the office building. It was 7 o'clock. There are more and more players on the training ground. When they saw the sweaty Chutian, they couldn't help but ask in shock, Chutian, when did you come? Have you had breakfast? Palak, you big parallel. Hurry up and get breakfast for your angel, you are the parallel goods. I've scored so many goals lately. Chutian, my assist angel, you wait, I'll go get bread and milk. After saying that, the little bald head turned and ran away. Chutian shook his head and couldn't help it. After a half-minute break, he continued to join the warm-up of the players. Train. 78 physical fitness. Hold on. 7:30. Chutian finished eating the bread and milk that Shaubald had brought back. The technical assistant blew the gathering whistle. Telly. Dongu. Palak. Enzo. The 4 of you were in a group with Chutian. The training I set up for Chutian's weaknesses, the 4 of you are sparring partners, you should communicate with him more. Although Chutian passed the ball very well, his skills in other aspects were poor. Tel is a front back and has a strong ability to dribble with the ball. The eruption rate of Dongu is extremely strong. Although Palatak often wasted opportunities, archery was one of the best among the young people of this generation of La Masia. Enzo is a very scarce left back, 1 game down, back and forth trek, his dribble breakout stats are the highest. In this way, the 4 people surrounded Chutian and began the targeted training arranged by the technical assistant teacher. In this process, they also gave a lot of training advice and experience. Chutian secretly kept these contents in mind. The training of the youth team ended quickly. Chutian was still alone on the pitch and insisted on training. The foreign moon is no more round than the yen country. Night hung over the La Masia training ground. Uncle Janitor handed Chutian a dry towel and said, young man, go back to rest, don't hurt. Meanwhile, the mechanical electronic synthesis sound suddenly sounded. Congratulations to the host for completing 10 hours of training, rewarding free allocation of attribute points 1. Chutian immediately added these 1 attribute points to the possession. There was a slight numbness in the back of his head. He felt his possession a little bit stronger. Possession 71. Gratefully, he took the dry towel from the doorman and smiled, thank you. I'll go back.